Yeah, all well, Ankur. Thank you.
So just a second, sir. I'm just streaming it on YouTube, and after that, we can just start the session. Just a minute.
Okay. Okay.
So, with no ado further, let me just get on to the session. So, we welcome Chirag sir, who is the Associate Director of ISBF. He has obtained his bachelor's degree in economic honors at St. Stephen's College, University of Delhi, following which sir has completed a master's degree in economics at the London School of Economics and Political Science, LSE. Thereafter, he has worked as an investment banker for 2 years with HSBC London, a very renowned brand. And before returning back to India, and taking up a career in the education sector, he has also worked as consultant with the education team of the World Bank in New Delhi. Chirag sir is passionate educationist.
यार अभी हाल फिलहाल आने की उम्मीद नहीं है, सतबीर जी के पास अभी ईमेल गया नहीं है.
And has taught various courses in economics to several batches at ISBF. He has also been actively associated with the student outreach initiatives in the past, conducting several sessions in the schools. As Associate Director, he currently looks after all dimensions of student welfare, developing and learning. We are again delighted to have you on board, sir, and I again hope that the students will learn a lot from you after this session. So please, sir, the podium is all yours now.
Thank you very much, Ankur, for that kind introduction. I just wanted to confirm, as we done previously, you'd be happy to just jump in with any questions that the students are throwing for me?
Just one thing is that, so this time we will invite students to speak up because we have disabled the chat option due to some security reasons. So I request all the students who have any questions regarding to ISBF or any other education related question, you guys can just raise your hand and I'll unmute you and you can ask your questions directly to sir.
Super. And students, golden rule, there is only one rule of this session. Ask as many questions as you want and ask whenever you want. Don't worry if I'm in the middle of a slide or in the middle of a sentence or whatever. Nothing is more important in the next 45 minutes, or in fact 50 minutes than your questions. So please feel free to ask absolutely anything at any point in time. Now, to tell you a little bit about the topic of the webinar today, I'm going to share my screen. I hope this is visible.
Yes, sir. It's visible, sir.
Super. Let me play it. Great. So we're here to talk about the LSE-led programs at ISBF. And LSE, of course, is the London School of Economics and Political Science. It is one of the biggest names in higher education in the world, especially in the fields of economics, management, and finance. For economics, it's ranked 5th in the world, 4th for accounting and finance, and 10th for business and management. This is as per US 2020 world rankings. So the LSE brand basically represents a global top 10 education in these fields. Now, why am I talking about the LSE brand being from the Indian School of Business and Finance? I'm talking about it because ISBF is effectively LSE in Delhi. Why do I say that? I say that if you read the first 2 bullet points on that slide in front of you, you'll see why I'm saying that. Number one, an ISBF student studies exactly the same curriculum as a student at LSE. And there is also complete parity of assessments between ISBF and LSE. So you study the same thing, you appear for the same exams, and therefore, point number 3, every ISBF graduates with the University of London degree. The University of London degree. This is a globally valued piece of paper, which is understood by a Harvard, a Goldman Sachs, and everyone in between, and which also bears LSE's name. LSE appears on the degree as the academic guarantor or as the body or the institution underwriting the academic standards, which is a massive thing because that means that the academics behind this graduate is coming from LSE. The degree says that, right? Why is this happening? This is happening because ISBF, LSE, and University of London enjoy a very, very deep collaboration for the last 15 years. Of course, the collaboration goes back to about 100, 150 odd years. ISBF is 15 years old. So that's when our collab, but from inception, we've collaborated with LSE and University of London. ISBF was set up in 2006 with the single-minded vision to bring world-class education to India. And we were fortunate and we were able to secure a partnership with LSE and University of London from the get-go to achieve that objective, which obviously has been served very well by this partnership. The beauty is that you can therefore, as a nature of this collaboration, as a result of this, or as a result of the nature of this collaboration, obtain a London School of Economics education and a University of London degree here in India at a quarter of the cost of doing so in London. It's only a quarter of the cost. So that's a 75% cost saving already. And ISBF's role is that of a standard college. So think of ISBF as the college and LSE and University of London as our affiliating university or as our university. Let's lose words like affiliating. So the relation, so what SRCC does, Shriram College of Commerce does in the University of Delhi ecosystem is what ISBF does in the LSE University of London ecosystem. Which is what? Which is to teach the programs, which is to conduct formative assessments, which is to conduct extracurricular activities, co-curricular activities, provide everything that we call college life, hostel, accommodation, food, Wi-Fi, etc., etc. The rest is trivial. So now what about ISBF? LSE recognized. So LSE works with more than 70 colleges or teaching institutions around the world, and they rate ISBF of their own accord because of our students' performance in the programs year after year after year. We are rated by LSE publicly on their website as one of their top 5 teaching institutions, which is a really big deal and something we are very, very proud of because it has been earned purely on the back of our students doing exceptionally well year after year after year on the programs. And of course, they are not just doing well on any program, they are doing well on a global top 10 undergraduate program in these fields. Because at ISBF, these 5 fields, economics, accounting, finance, business, and management, are the only fields that we teach at the undergraduate level. So not only are they doing well, they're doing well enough for ISBF to be ranked among the top 5 colleges of LSE in the world as a result. And all this is happening on a global top 10 undergraduate program right here in New Delhi in India. This is a copy of the degree I was talking about. So you have the full degree on the right. And on the left-hand side, what I've done is zoom into the text a little bit so you can clearly see that it says, having registered with the University of London and passed the approved examinations conducted by the London School of Economics and Political Science. So that is how this becomes equivalent to an LSE degree itself. These are the 5 programs that we offer: economics, economics and finance, economics and management, business and management, and accounting and finance. Math. Now, what is given on the right is merely the eligibility criteria to apply. Without this, you're discouraged from applying for these programs. If you meet these criteria, you're welcome to apply for these programs. This is not the selection criteria, mind you. I'll talk about the selection criteria a little bit later.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Hardik Malik has a doubt. Yes, Hardik Malik, please go ahead.
Sir, actually, I confirmed from many of my elder brothers. So they said that London School of Economics gets completed with its application form by January or by January only.
Correct. Right. So Hardik, I'm extrapolating you from your question. So LSE for its London campus has slightly different formalities. The studies are exactly the same once the session begins, but the admission process and the procedure is a little bit different because they have to adhere to UK systems, which we also have to do in many other regards. But in the UK, what happens is all applications are centralized through something called the UCAS system, University and College Admission Service, or something is the full form. And the UCAS applications have to be made by mid-January. You're absolutely right. But that doesn't apply in this case, because LSE has permitted its teaching institutions or colleges around the world to conduct their admission cycles in sync also with, it has to be in sync with the UK calendar, but also in sync with the local calendars, right? Because in India, in January, schools are halfway through class 12. So these certainly cannot close admissions in class 12. In fact, that is in the UK also, they would prefer to recruit in June and July if they could. But obviously, students need 2-3 months to just arrange a visa after getting an unconditional letter. So they have a very long process. You apply in January, you get a conditional offer in March, then your offer converts sometime in June or July when the results come out. June typically, in fact, May is when the CBSE results come out in a normal year, if we are ever going to live in a normal year again. May results come out, then you send them back to the university, then you get an unconditional offer, then you apply for a visa, and then you have to make sure you reach by sort of early September to start their foundation course and all. So that is why they have to back calculate from September. In our case, obviously, we're mostly recruiting Indian students, and therefore the process is much shorter, and so we can afford to carry on admissions until later. So is that what you were asking, and does that answer your question, Hardik?
Yes, sir.
Okay, super. Very, very good question. That's the first time I've heard that question in 10 years. Very, very good question. So it's a fairly obvious question. I'm surprised it hasn't come up before, actually. Right, going back to what I was saying, and very well done also, Hardik, for taking me up on my offer. Sometimes students leave it a little bit late. Please ask me your questions at absolutely any time. And Ankur, please continue to feel free to unmute them at absolutely any time.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir.
No problem. So the first two courses, economics and finance, maths up to class 12 is compulsory. Let me tell you this, I'm actually, and I happen to be a BA honors economics graduate, as Ankur pointed out. So let me tell you from my own experience, economics is a quantitative subject, and it gets more and more quantitative as you go from school to undergrad to postgrad to research/PhD. If somebody is admitting you into an economics honors program without maths, they're doing you a disservice, because you will not make it very far past undergrad, and even undergrad you will probably scrape through. So eco is quantitative. There is no two ways about it. Eco and eco finance are our relatively quantitative courses. For eco management, business management, accounting and finance, math up to class 10 is still compulsory, which is the case in most Indian schools. But in case your school is an exception, you will need math up to class 10. There is no other stream or subject related criteria. It doesn't matter if you studied eco before or not, or accounting before or not. 20% of the ISBF student body is PCM students, physics, chemistry, math students who never studied any of these subjects before, but are quantitatively good. So they would typically come into an eco finance program. But anyway, I want to also say a little bit the terminology. So one of the obvious questions I get from students on this slide is, BSc versus BA. Now, first of all, please note that our program names are entirely in line with LSE terminology. And at LSE, all undergrad programs are BScs, because LSE is a social science school, and it sees all social sciences as a science. Social sciences are, some of you may have studied this in, maybe class 9 or something. One of the first chapters, if you took up economics, would have been is economics an art or a science? So the social sciences broadly sit at the intersection of the arts and the sciences. So different universities take different views. In India, Calcutta University, awards a BSc degree for economics. Delhi University awards a BA degree for economics. In the UK, Cambridge awards a BA, LSE awards a BSc, Oxford awards a degree in philosophy for economics. So it really doesn't matter, except that a BSc is typically more quantitative than a BA, which is an advantage in today's world, because it's increasingly, with so much data, things are increasingly quantitative, right?
Sorry to again interrupt you, sir. Vanshika Bansal has a doubt. Yes, Vanshika, please go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Hi,
I want to ask that I am good in economics as well as stats, but I am weak in mathematical part and quant part. So should I go for economics or not?
Right. So let me first answer a different question, which will help with the answer to your question. So if you had asked me what are the topics in maths that I need to know to be good at economics, my answer would have been calculus, statistics, and within statistics, your distributions and measures of central tendency, measures of dispersion, and probability. But aside from statistics, note, I only said calculus. Of course, matrices and all, but wo nahi bhi aata hai, you can learn in college. But whatever calculus and functions and stuff you learned in school, you should know reasonably well. So a large part of the quant in economics is statistics, Vanshika. So while you may have a deficiency in a little bit of it, as long as you don't worry about whether you get 95 or 98 in maths. So the way I look at it is identify your relationship with maths. And there are 4 kinds of relationships. There's love, there's love, hate, there's hate, love, and there's hate, hate. So as long as it's love from your side towards maths, it doesn't matter if math loves you back. In other words, if you get good marks at maths, as long as you don't hate the process of doing maths, you enjoy trying maths, that's the requirement. You don't have to be a wizard at maths. And the fact that you're good at stats, that means I was actually including stats within maths, because in school they're not really taught differently. So you're already good at half the math. So I certainly wouldn't discourage you from applying for eco and eco finance unless you hate the math part. Calculus will come up a lot. Calculus is like the language of economics beyond a point. So, but having said that, also don't get weighed down too much by that, because you'll also be taught calculus very, very differently in college. So don't evaluate it purely based on marks. That's not usually a good criteria.
Okay, sir. So also, like, I wasn't having maths in my 11th and 12th. So would be it a hindrance for a degree or not?
Sorry. So how do you have stats but not maths? How does that work?
So actually, I am in ISC board. So we are having option in economics and maths. So I have opted for economics.
No, but achha, so you studied statistics within economics?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I see. Okay, interesting. Okay, so then you'll have to probably look at how much statistics you've studied, Vanshika. If you have not done any math, I would suggest, what are your future plans, Vanshika? What do you want to do afterwards?
So actually, I'm more good in economic theoretical part, but I was pursuing for BBA. So by my parents' concerned, I just go through that. I should look into economics courses also, as I'm good in that.
No, fair enough. I meant, from a work point of view, or after an undergrad. I know it's very far away, but as of now, what appeals to you? What might you want to do after undergrad?
So basically, I want to do a startup.
Want to do a what? Sorry.
I want to do a startup.
Startup. Acha. Okay. So you've made the advice easier for me. The ideal program out of these for you, Vanshika, would be economics and management. So I was just coming to economics and management actually. Eco and management is meant for those students who like economics but don't like the math that comes with it, or don't have a math background. And in fact, in your case, there's a third advantage, that you want to also study management, or you should ideally also study management if you want to start a startup, because you learn a lot about international business. You learn a lot about the basic verticals of every business: marketing, finance, HR, organizational theory, e-business, entrepreneurship. You can study all of these courses alongside microeconomics, macroeconomics, and advanced papers in economics if you want to. So economics and management, that combination of the two would be ideal for you, in my opinion.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. Again, excellent question. The other thing, guys, I want to point out about these courses, because they follow UK terminology. I also want to tell you what the most closely comparable Indian program is, because Vanshika just mentioned talking to her parents. When you talk to your parents, they'll be like, "Ki iska to naam nahi suna hai. Iska naam nahi suna hai because ye Indian program nahi hai, UK program hai." If they feel more comfortable, if you're able to compare it with an Indian program, although honestly, I said global top 10 in economics, management, and finance, the highest ranked Indian programs are 100 or below. So there is really no comparison. But still, just for a conversation, the most the program that comes the closest is what I'm telling you. It's still very far. So BSc Honors Economics can, of course, be compared with BA Honors Economics. Eco and finance, there's really no comparables. In India, this is hardcore finance. If you want to become an investment banker, you want to become, get into private equity, hedge funds, investment management, the world's top finance profiles, then that is what this program will do for you. Both accounting finance and eco finance, the finance taught in it is global number 4 ranked finance curriculum. So it will set you up for the world's top finance careers. This kind of finance is simply not taught in India. It is, in fact, finance in India is so under taught that even at the master's level, people have to settle for an MBA with a specialization in finance. there are hardly any good MSc finance programs out there, except some very few started by public universities in the last 3-4 years. Anyway, moving on to what I was talking about, eco management is most closely comparable with BBE, Bachelor of Business Economics. Business and management is most closely comparable with BBA, or Bachelor of Business Administration, and accounting and finance with BCom honors. Now, having said that, all these programs are more quantitative, more analytical, also very importantly, more application oriented. At LSE or in an LSE program, you don't learn anything for its own sake. You learn everything to be able to solve real world problems. And that starts on day one, because your rote learning goes out of the window. You don't rote learn anything, which is why what replaces rote learning is a spirit of inquiry, asking questions. That is why you've heard me talk about questions already so much on this webinar, because that's how our classes run. We go crazy trying to get our students to ask questions. We go crazy in the sense our students are very responsive actually, but like even 2 months before the session starts, in fact, from tomorrow, we are going to start a 2-month-long exercise with students who are coming in 2021, just to induct them into this spirit of
Sorry
asking.
to again interrupt, sir. Sorry to again
No,
interrupt. Yuvraj has a doubt.
Yes, Yuvraj.
Yes,
Sir,
Yuvraj.
I wanted to ask, sir, I wanted to get into I want to be an investment banker in the future, sir. So which program will be better, economics and finance or accounting and finance?
See, both have their advantages from an investment banking point of view, Yuvraj. First, okay, let me give you the short answer first. The short answer is that depends on whether you like maths more or accounts more. And I will explain why I'm trivializing it to just that. But can you answer that question for me? Which one do you enjoy more?
Sir, accounts.
Okay, and did you have maths in class 11 and 12?
Yes, sir, I had maths in class 11 and 12.
Okay, but you've kind of answered the question, and I'll tell you why they're both excellent bases for a career in something like investment banking. There's really not much to choose between eco and finance. So finance is there's two ends of the finance spectrum. If you look at the finance job market, everything starts at the firm level, right? And at the firm level, accounts is king. All finance at the firm level is connected with accounting, the books of a firm, right? The financial statements of a firm.
Yes,
And
sir.
then this firm that will, sell some part of itself, do an IPO and sell it to, public stakeholders, or sell to, do a mergers and acquisition transaction and sell to another private player. Whatever, ultimately the unit is the firm or a financial instrument, right? So that is now these, when you're talking about IPO and, mergers and acquisitions, then the secondary, primary and secondary financial markets come into the picture. So at the one end, there is the firm, and at the other end of the spectrum, there are the financial markets. If you're working at the firm level, accounts is king, as I said. If you're working at the financial markets level, accounts is still very important, because ultimately, if you're analyzing which stock to invest in, you're going to have to look at financial statements of a firm, which is all related to accounting. But you're also going to have to do some sophisticated quantitative analysis. And so the financial markets end of the spectrum requires accounts and maths. Actually, this part, and this requires accounts and slightly sophisticated maths. Here also you need accounts and maths. You need more sophistication in accounts, less in maths at the firm level. At the markets level, more in maths, less in accounting. So depending on where you want to end up, if you want to do mergers and acquisitions, accounting is a great base. Investment banking is a very large term. You can do trading, you can do structuring, you can do equity capital markets, debt capital markets, mergers and acquisitions, etc., etc. So sorry, I'm not trying to confuse you. I've already given you the simple answer, so you can always go back to that if you find any of this confusing. But I'm trying to also give you a holistic picture here. So choose the what also matters, Yuvraj, a lot, and this is sometimes something we can ignore very easily, is it's not just about getting into a great program. It's also about doing very well at that program. Because the guy who's going to employ you after your undergrad or admit you into a master's program will want, everybody wants the cream, the best out of the, students who pursued that program. And one of the rules that, I like to think of is you have to do something for 10,000 hours to become an expert at it. 10,000 hours is 365 days in a year without weekends, without any breaks. If you do something for 3 hours every day, then you become an expert in 10 years. Just to give you some perspective. इतने लंबे टाइम के लिए ना nobody can push you. that is where your interest comes in. That's why I asked you, which one do you like more, maths or accounts? If you like accounts, you're much likelier to excel in accounts. So do accounting and finance. And one other very big advantage of our accounting and finance program is that it enjoys exemptions for 8 out of 13 papers required to qualify as an ACCA, which is a global accounting and finance qualification. Unlike the CA in India, which is a purely accounting qualification, ACCA is an accounting and finance qualification. So the work requirement in ACCA can be fulfilled by also doing an investment banking or a finance role. Whereas in CA, you have to do auditing to complete the work requirement. So ACCA is accepted in about 25 job markets around the world, including the UK, Europe, Middle East, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, etc. So it's a very attractive qualification, and you only have to write 5 papers instead of 13 to qualify. 8 are exempted. And you can actually start attempting those 5 after first year itself. So you can be fully ACCA qualified by the time you graduate. So that's another big advantage of accounting and finance, and lots of opportunities to get placed in the big four, Ernst & Young, PwC, Deloitte, KPMG. And these firms, for ACCA graduates in particular, there are many opportunities to move within the firm abroad, to go on deputations or secondments abroad, because like I said, it's accepted in 25 job markets around the world. So it's a pretty exciting way to explore the world of accounting and finance. Having said that, eco and finances, if you have maths in class 11 and 12, for whatever reason, if you decide to do eco finance instead, that's perfectly good as well for investment banking. And the professional track it opens up for you is to do a CFA. So the CFA curriculum and the eco finance curriculum, there's a 40% overlap. There are no exemptions. CFA doesn't give exemptions to any institution anywhere in the world. But there's a 40% curriculum overlap. So it makes it much easier to do CFA, which is a very, very strong professional qualification in finance. So I hope that gives you some perspective.
Sir.
Pleasure, no problem.
Yes, sir.
Great. So I think that's everything. I wanted to make that point about ACCA, which I've just mentioned. So moving on. So that was the structure of the programs that we offer at ISBF, the LSE programs. Because of the fact that you have this golden opportunity to pursue a global top 10 program in India, where the next program is ranked, at least 100th, if not lower. This opens up many.
One more doubt was there. So Kainat Nakwi, I request you to please ask a doubt.
That's a lovely name, Kainat.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So my question was how ISBF will help me to have my own startup, and if I fail in my startup, then should I take job? Like if I do business and management, then will I get any job after that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we have a dedicated careers team, a placements team, which we call the careers team, Kainat, and they have 100% placement track record for the last 4 years. Now, let me also tell you, at ISBF, because we are teaching challenging programs, and we have a very, very close-knit teaching learning community. All teachers know their students, and their students' progress like the back of their hand at all times. So our numbers are, so we only have 120 seats every year across the 5 programs that I just showed you. So our student body is a small, close-knit body. So we don't have to place like 600 students, etc. But obviously, we still have to place our students in very, very strong roles. And we have had 100% track record of doing that. Every student who has sat for placements in the last 4 years, no matter what their program, has been placed and has taken up 95% of students have taken up their ISBF offer, because they're also trying on their own. They're trying through relatives, but they've typically got their best offers from ISBF. So absolutely, no, it doesn't matter if you're eco finance or eco or business management or eco management or any program or accounting finance. We work very, very hard to get our students jobs, and we have 100% track record there. Now, coming to the first part of your question, there is actually a lot of support provided for entrepreneurship. You should look on our YouTube channel. Ritesh Agarwal, founder and CEO of Oyo Rooms, is an ISBF alum. He famously, like many famous entrepreneurs, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, etc., dropped out of college. He studied, I think, halfway into his second year, but ISBF is the only place he went to college. He gave up some Ivy League offers, etc., to study at ISBF. Anyhow, I mean, that's an old story, but many entrepreneurs have come out of ISBF. There's a whole page on entrepreneurship, who are our student entrepreneurs on our website. There's currently a very exciting startup operating at ISBF started by 5 current students who came together and started a sustainable apparel enterprise called Imacity. You can look them up on Instagram. But more directly to answer your question, first of all, the program itself is how ISBF helps. You're studying a global pedigree business management program, which is, so the fact that it comes from LSE means 2 things. I've already mentioned that it's application oriented. So you will learn to solve real world business problems as an entrepreneur, as a manager. And the second is that it is cutting edge. That LSE's researchers, who are some of the world's best researchers in these fields, are updating this curriculum every year. They're the ones who have written it, and they're the ones who are updating it. So the latest research, the latest cases will always reflect in your curriculum. So that is the best thing you can equip yourself with, right? So that is one. Then there is the courses. So like I already mentioned, you can study courses like international business, you can study e-business, you can study management in social media, you can study business analytics, you can study entrepreneurship itself is a course. When I say a course, I mean a subject. When I say BSc economics, that's a program. So just to be clear, so these are all subjects you can study as electives, or some of them are compulsory on your program, aside from the traditional business management subjects like marketing, human resource, organization theory, etc. So that's number 2. Number 3 is there is an entrepreneurship cell at ISBF, which does business plan competitions and all stuff like that. That's a co-curricular or an extracurricular opportunity to get very, very hands-on. And I'd say number 4 is these are the big ones anyway. Number 4 is the incubation center at ISBF, which is called iVenture. And so you can actually incubate your own startup. If you start something, you can get expert advice from industry experts as well as faculty experts by signing up with iVenture. So that's an in-house opportunity available at ISBF. These are the main things. Then, of course, there are so many societies. You can pick up organizational skills, interpersonal skills by working in societies. There are so many guest lectures. We had the founder and CEO of Make My Trip, Deep Kalra, come and talk to students. Ritesh Agarwal has come and spoken to students in the past. Other alumni who are entrepreneurs keep coming. So many opportunities to pick the brains of these entrepreneurs who've been there, done that. So these are the various avenues through which you can get help in college for entrepreneurship, Kainath.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, pleasure, no problem. Right. So I'm going to speed up a little bit now, guys, in the interest of time. What I was saying was that, as students and graduates of this program, you'll have many unique opportunities. The first one is what we call a second-year transfer to a foreign university. Anybody studying any Indian program in economics, management, and finance does not have this opportunity. I'm saying this from personal experience and 10 years of having worked in higher education in India. Your application will go to the dustbin if you apply from even, SRCC or St. Stephen's College or whatever else you consider, a great college or university in India, because the rigor of the program is just nowhere on the global platform, right? On the other hand, from ISBF, 15 students have got transfers in the last 6 years to LSE alone. That's more than 2 students every year. And this is the highest number of transfers as a proportion of the size of the student body. This is the highest number of transfers that LSE has awarded to any institution in the world in the last decade, really. But it's not just LSE. Students have got transfers to Edinburgh, Bristol, Bath, King's, St. Andrews. This is in the UK, UBC in Canada, University Carnegie Mellon in the US, University of Hong Kong, and several other universities around the world. So, and this happens every year. And a fuller list is obviously on our website, but this is a very, very unique opportunity, right? For the same reason, and so the logic behind the transfer opportunity is obviously what I've already said, that because you have 1 year of an LSE education behind you by the time you apply, any college, or no college has any doubts about your rigor or your ability to pursue their second year, right? That doesn't mean everybody gets in, but the success rate is much higher than it would otherwise have been. For exactly the same reason, ISBF students have a very, very substantial edge when they apply for a master's abroad. So I had to do a 2-year master's at LSE after my undergrad at Delhi University, even though I had a first division economics honors degree. That was because I'd done eco honors, but eco honors is not the same everywhere. My eco honors was not at par with a UK e-corners. So this e-corners, for example, the ISBF e-corners. And so I was asked to sit with UK LSE undergrads for 1 year with first year and second year students to come up to the level of a UK undergrad. And then I was permitted to do the 1 year master. So that first 1 year and the second 1 year combined to make a 2 year program. Whereas an ISBF student, many of my students, in fact, about 10 of my students or our students have gone on to that 1 year MSc economics program, which I got rejected for. And not just me, my classmate who was DU topper also got rejected for that same program. So that tells you something about, how this program is perceived globally. Naturally, I mean, I think I shouldn't have to explain this, that LSE is far better understood, far better valued and recognized and rated around the world than, for example, a Delhi University. And I'm only using Delhi University as an example here because it's my own alma mater and I understand it well. But students have gone on to LSE, Harvard, Oxford, Yale, NUS, NYU, Chicago, Columbia, King's, Warwick. I mean, these are all global top 100 colleges or universities. So that's a huge opportunity if you have an edge to get into these colleges, because after this, your career is set. The kind of job you'll get after graduating from LSE will be minimum 40,000 pounds or a minimum of 30, let's say 35,000 pounds to be conservative, given the coronavirus situation. But that's also what, 30 odd lakhs a year. I know you'll be spending in pounds also, but also you'll also be saving in pounds. So you'll save a hell of a lot more than if you were working in India. So that's nearly 4.5 times, anything you can get in India as a starting package. So and it's not just about the pay, the quality of the work environment in these countries, in the US and the UK especially, but in most of Europe also, Western Europe especially, is about 20-25 years ahead of anything in India. So you learn so much at the start of your career by working there for some time. And the other thing to factor in, is after the pandemic, geographical barriers to work will be at their lowest historically, probably. What does that mean? That means somebody sitting in New York can also think about hiring somebody sitting in New Delhi, because it's work from home. And even many large firms have moved to a permanent work from home culture, like Twitter, etc. So why does it matter to an HR in hiring for a role that is technically supposed to be out of the San Francisco office? But if nobody's going to office, what does it matter if the employee is sitting in New Delhi or in New Jersey? And that becomes a big factor, because when an HR in San Francisco is looking at your CV, then an LSE will stand out like nothing else will. So that becomes a global signal as opposed to a local signal. So that is something to think about as well, because of the world you're moving into. 3 years down the line, geographical barriers are likely to be quite substantially lower. They won't disappear, but they'll be lower for sure. So that's another thing about the Masters Abroad. These are two kids from ISBF, one of whom is now, well, I shouldn't call them kids, no longer kids. One of them is now teaching at ISBF. But both of these sisters, 2017, 2018, got full scholarships to LSE for that 1 year MSc economics program. This is a huge achievement in Indian higher education. ऐसा एक college से 2 years in a row LSE gives a full scholarship very rarely happens, if ever. And then other unique opportunities, like 2 students from ISBF go to LSE on summer school on scholarship, full scholarship every year. Many awards and prizes which look great on your CV. Attending the graduation ceremony in London. I'll show you a picture in a minute. But also within India, students that choose to study within India have gone on to the best colleges: IIM, Delhi School of Economics, ISI, XLRI, ISB Hyderabad, etc. These are some of the best postgraduate institutions in India. And then I mentioned we have a dedicated careers team and 100% placement track record. They counsel students, upskill students. There's a lot of upskilling that happens: Excel training, helping you make your CV, helping you make a LinkedIn profile, training you how to do interviews, group discussions, etc., etc. There's months-long trainings that happen, and then they organize summer internships for the summer, obviously, and then placements both in India and abroad. And in India, students have gone on. I'll show you slides, but in India, students have. This is a picture of the graduation ceremony in London. Every graduate gets invited, which is practically every student. But students have gone on to work for companies like Ernst & Young, Deloitte, KPMG, Bain, McKinsey, PepsiCo, Walmart, etc. after ISBF. And And they've also gone on to work in London or New York for a year with firms like Morgan Stanley, UBS, HSBC, Citibank, etc. So yeah, very importantly, the next application deadline for the LSE programs, the first application deadline after the cancellation of the boards, is coming up on the 19th of June. I don't have that on a slide, unfortunately. It's just a date you'll have to note. On the 19th of June, and the test and the interview are shortly thereafter. 22nd and 24th is the test, are the two test dates, and 29th June is the personal interview if you're shortlisted after the test. So you can look these up on our website, of course. But there's also an SOP that you have to fill as part of your application form, a statement of purpose. So if you're keen to apply, and if you're in class 12, obviously right now, then you should at least look at the application and get in touch with someone at ISBF pretty quickly. There's another program. I know this was a session on Pursue LSE-led programs. But there's one other program I'd like to brief you about. It's only one slide, so it won't take long. But Ankur, any questions before that? Ankur? Hi guys, am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, thanks for confirming. Ankur, are you there?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Sorry, there was some technical issue with the mic. Yes.
Was there any problem at my end? Were you able to hear everything?
No. Everything was going smooth, sir. Everything was going smooth.
Okay. Any questions that are pending, or should I move on, Ankur?
No, please move on, sir, because no student has raised their hands till now.
Sure. Okay. So, guys, I want to tell you about another unique opportunity, or another unique program, rather. This collab, as I said, ISBF was set up to bring world-class education to India. We've brought one more opportunity, which is in partnership with Kingston University, specifically their business school, which is an elite business school because it's one of only 5% of business schools in the world that enjoy accreditation from AACSB, which is one of the top B school accreditations in the world. Their bachelor's in business management program is what we offer, just one program. And the proposition here is a partly in India, partly in the UK proposition, partly Delhi, partly London, and you graduate in London. So you can either do the first, well, at the moment, we're still working out details of the second part, so I won't share that with you just yet. But at the moment, the program is structured in such a way that you do years 1 and 2 at ISBF, and year 3 is compulsorily in London at Kingston University. And this makes the move in year 3 very, very seamless. You don't have to appear for any exams. You're moving with a whole batch or a cohort of students. You're guaranteed hostel accommodation. So it all makes the transition much, much easier. The curriculum is the same. You'll be studying the Kingston University curriculum in ISBF also and at KU also. And then you, of course, graduate in London with the KU degree, and you get all the work and visa benefits that other international students get, despite being there for 2 lesser years. And because you are there for 2 lesser years, for those 2 years you're in India at ISBF, you save a lot of money, which brings the program cost down to less than half. So only about 35 lakhs is the cost of the program, as opposed to at least 75 lakhs, but going up to nearly 90 lakhs or even 1 crore if you were to study all 3 years in the UK at Kingston University. And of course, if you graduate in London, it's one of the world's best places to work in. So you get to launch a career in London itself. So this is another interesting program. The deadline for this program, the first post-board cancellation deadline, is on the 23rd of June. And the process here is there is no entrance test. So once you apply based on the essay and the application, you're shortlisted for an interview. And if you do well in the interview, then you may be made an offer by the admissions committee. So the LSE program has a 3-step process: apply, appear for a test, appear for an interview if you're shortlisted. The Kingston University program has a 2-step process. You apply, you're screened, you're invited for an interview. So apply and appear for an interview. Well, I do have some visuals just to put things in perspective. This is the LSE admission process. I've already highlighted it. I've already told you there's 120 places. What I didn't tell you earlier on, I said I would come to it later, is the selection criteria. It's 50, 30, 20. So 50% weightage goes to the entrance test, 30% to the interview, and only 20% to the class 12 board scores, if they are available. In your case, if they are not, if you apply for the 19 June round, if the results are not out by the time you appear for your interview, then we proceed with taking a decision without that 20% in a 5:3 ratio, because 80% of the criteria is anyway, our own. And then this is the two-step process I was talking about for Kingston University. And so, sorry, ignore the second bullet point. This is, I'm reusing a presentation, so my apologies for that. I didn't get a chance to edit these. These dates are obviously, as I said, 19th June and 23rd June. But very importantly, we have rolling admissions, which means early rounds are already behind us. Several seats are filled up. But very importantly, we also offer scholarships. We have quite a liberal scholarship pool, and scholarships are offered up to 100% of our tuition fee, and they're applicable for all 3 years of study, provided you maintain certain basic academic criteria. And in fact, if you look at the last bullet point, there are two ways to get a scholarship. The first way is to first get an offer of admission. If you are made an offer, then you become eligible to apply for the scholarship. But the second way, the Power of Why Challenge and scholarship, this is open to anybody. You don't even have to have necessarily completed an application, but the only criteria is you must be a class 12 student graduating in 2021, because the only prize is the scholarship. You can't avail of the scholarship if you're not graduating this year. There's more details about this on our website, but it's a very exciting, enjoyable challenge where you will learn a lot, and you can also pick up a 50% scholarship to study at ISBF. There's two 50% scholarships on offer. And then the last couple of things this is actually a very important thing. I didn't think I would get to it, so I wasn't I didn't plan time for this, but give me 1 sec. We're at 5:24. Okay, we have a few minutes. So I've already mentioned that, that the fact that the program comes from LSE means it is necessarily cutting edge. It is necessarily application oriented. The fact that rote learning is replaced by a spirit of inquiry. That the fact that we're a close-knit teaching community. But the other things I want to say is that there is a lot of innovation in teaching and learning at ISBF. We have to this is where I come back to one of the first points I was asked.
Sir, sorry to again interrupt. So
No,
Brijesh Kumar Darji is here and he wants to ask something. Please go ahead.
Yes, Brijesh.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, Brijesh. Go on.
Okay. I just want to know, the thing is that I'm financial planner and I want admission for my son.
Right, sir.
Okay. So he was in 12th science with maths.
Okay.
So I want him to join my business. Okay. So which course would be advisable according to you?
Right, sir. Because you said you're a financial planner, I'm guessing that's your business then. So economics and considering he's a PCM student or a science student with maths, economics and finance would probably suit him best. And I say that for one reason. Accounting and finance is obviously the other option, but he would not have studied any accounts. He would obviously also not have studied any economics probably. But science students, we find, often take to economics quite easily, because economics is also quite logical and it's about problem solving, and finance so dono mein hi hai. So and whereas accounts is a completely different kind of ball game, so they may or may not like accounts. So eco finance would be the recommended programs.
तो सर ऐसा है कि ऐसा तो नहीं हो जाएगा कि 12th साइंस का स्टूडेंट आके completely different environment तो मतलब
नहीं sir,
संभल नहीं पाए.
I'll give you an example, sir. Science students have absolutely no disadvantage to study economics and to study any of these programs, but especially eco finance mein, they are very much at home. And the example I was giving you is मतलब इसमें commerce science की बात, commerce science में कोई difference नहीं है. That's the larger point. But the example I was giving you is at LSE for a master's, the student who topped our master's program was somebody who had never studied economics formally before. उसने स्कूल में साइंस किया था और अंडरग्रेड में मैथ्स ऑनर्स किया था. So that is how quantitative economics is, and that is where science students are able to go. Quantitative portion में in fact commerce students से थोड़ा आगे होते हैं, and जो economics के intuition में, logic में, वो because they are seeing it for the first time, they initially obviously are a little bit behind the commerce students there, but they're able to catch up because it's all very logical and it's also quantitative. So they're able to catch up. So there's no challenge there at all.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
No problem. Right. So what I was saying was, and I'll wrap up quickly now, is that there is a lot of pedagogical innovation because we have lots of, I'm not even sure if I was on this point, but I feel like I was somewhere else. But anyway, we have 15 years of, pedagogical training by LSE behind us. What I was saying was that, we have to conform to UK program delivery and academic delivery standards, which are very, very stringent. That's why the UK is one of the top education systems in the world. It's such a tiny country, but 4 out of the top 10 colleges in the world are in the UK. And similarly, in the top 20, you'll find, another 40% coming from the UK. And we have to, abide by those norms despite being here in India. So that really raises the standards of, forces us to raise the standards of what we are doing. To give you an example, a couple of faculty members at ISBF have completed a qualification, and at least 3 others are pursuing it at the moment, which is a postgraduate qualification in how to teach better. And the equivalent qualification in India is NMAT or NET, National Eligibility Test, which is again, some 20 years behind. I've cleared the NET myself, and it's a trivial exam compared to that. So I'm just trying to make a point that with that kind of pedagogical training, it unlocks a lot of innovation, right? So we have hackathons as assessments, we have interdisciplinary and capstone projects as assessments, we have so much industry exposure through boot camps, through industry trainers coming in and upskilling students, through industry visits to places like National Stock Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange, World Bank, etc. All of this makes for an exciting teaching and learning environment, which I think is very essential, because that makes you want to keep learning, because learning is a challenging task by nature, right? And anything that makes it more interesting and exciting and easier should be valued. Last couple of things, I've spoken mostly about the serious stuff so far, but there is a lot of emphasis as an undergraduate heavy college. There's a lot of emphasis on co-curricular and extracurricular activities. I usually don't spend a lot of time on this because this is far better understood if you log on to our website and go to the student life section, or if you go to the Instagram pages of either ISBF or our student council, ISBF_EDU or ISBF_SC for student council. But there are guest lectures by some very, very eminent people. We've had the former chief statistician of India, member of the 15th Finance Commission. I mentioned founder and CEO of Make My Trip, CEO of the Pro Volleyball League, Joy Bhattacharya, who's also former team director of Kolkata Knight Riders, managing vice president of GoDaddy India, HR head of Bain and Company. All of these people and so many more coming in and talking to students in the last 1 or 2 years, 1.5 years or so alone. There's also so many training workshops. You get to learn so many software. This is all voluntary. I mean, of course, do it if you want to, but these are all at no additional cost. You get to learn Stata, Excel, R, Python, Tableau, which are all very exciting software, which make you also much more employable. And then, of course, there are student societies. This show is run entirely by students. There's everything from music to dance to social work, entrepreneurship, investment, sports, media, etc., etc. And annual intercollege cultural festival called Xenia, and an annual Model United Nations. And mind you, all of this went ahead even last year when we had to teach online. Hopefully in the coming year, we won't have to do too much online teaching, but we'll only know with time what happens with the third wave, etc. By the way, bad miss on my part, but I really hope my family has been through a bit of a difficult month and a half on the coronavirus front. But I really hope that you and your families are safe and stay safe. But yeah, I mean, barring what coronavirus does, whether we are online or offline, we are very, very well equipped to deliver the entire college experience, not just the teaching. The feedback on our online teaching for the last 1 year has been consistently above expectations from students. In fact, very, very good. I'm being very conservative. I'm a conservative person by nature. You probably understood by now. But the feedback has been very strong. And the student council has conducted 100+ online events so that college life was always alive. They conducted the entire inter-college festival online, continuing with events like music and dance, etc. I think there were some 1,000-odd participants from around the country, and the Model United Nations with over 150 or 200 participants. These are some pictures, but as I said, I mean, it's much better if you look on our website. There's a college trip every year. This is some pictures from the rehearsals and from the actual festival. Also, I'm not sure where you guys are from, if you're mostly from Punjab or from other parts of the country. But we have a hostel for outstation students. I lived in a Delhi University hostel. Compared to that, this is a 5-star hostel. So very, very comfortable with lunch and breakfast and dinner included in the fee, along with Wi-Fi, electricity, and all that. It's a very short walk from the campus. Both the campus and the hostel are located in the absolute heart of Delhi. It is as central as it gets. Metro stations at walking distance, probably 30 different cafeterias and restaurants at walking distance, 5 different markets at walking distance, so many colleges and schools nearby. It's a very, very safe and student-friendly part of Delhi. So very happening. Students often, in fact, mostly, even though there's plenty of space on campus, they like to hang out, in between class. They'll go to Starbucks and pick up a coffee, or go hang out at, the Korean Cultural Center or Cafe Coffee Day or elsewhere, and so many other options that they have. So yeah, that is what I wanted to share about the LSE-led programs, and also a little bit about the KU program at ISBF. Any questions? Happy to spend a few minutes taking them.
I believe, sir, you have summarized everything in this session, and I am not getting any more questions.
Okay.
So I guess it's pretty much simplified. And my 2 of the students from Hitbullseye have already got admission. In the last session, one student was there, and day before yesterday, I came to another student who has also got admission to ISBF. So his SOP was accepted, interview was conducted. Everything is done, I believe.
Great. So you're counseling students.
Yes, sir. And we are much honored that you, already being the director, and you are coming over here and giving them all the information about the program at ISBF. I believe that also, creates some sense of motivation for a lot of students.
No, glad to hear that, Ankur, and happy to do this. Anything that helps students make an informed decision, we're committed to helping with that. So no challenge at all. Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for always enlightening us with something new, always. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, Ankur.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
With this, I come to the end of this session. So if you guys still have any doubts regarding to ISBF, or how to pursue your careers after your +2, so we are always open, and feel free to contact us. You guys are well connected in our Telegram group, on our social media. So we look forward for your questions if there are any. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending the session. Thank you.